There is a very important scenario that people need to be up to date on how the Roman civil system operates. And one of the key words that comes to mind here is the word sponsor. Now, sponsor is a guarantor, and in the Roman Catholic Church, when a child is baptized, they have a godmother and a godfather. Now, the interesting thing about these words, most people don't know the meanings of where these words godmother, godfather come from. So we're going to go over that, but we want to make one thing clear. The Roman system under jus soli, which is citizenship by birth, implied you're born into the Roman citizenship by just your birth, is not something supported even by law, because duties, debts, and obligations come with citizenship. A child can't enter into a contract, as would be the same as someone accepting Jesus Christ. This is something that one makes choice or elects to enter into, and therefore the baptism operates in that manner. So there are no child baptisms in the Bible. Now this has to be embraced and understood, because the system that you're framed in operates under the implication you're born a citizen or born into a contract of legal citizenship without consent, which violates all morals and principles. Now, when we go and look at the word sponsor, I'm going to read you out of the Canadian Law Dictionary. It says a surety, a benefactor, a guarantor, or underwriter, a person who gives security, makes a promise, or officially takes responsibility for someone else. Now, we have to realize that these certificates that most people are carrying do not have their signature on it. And therefore, you can't issue your own birth certificate. And in fact, they're very clear to say that the one that you carry, you authorized it. So you're the author of it, they're not the author of it. But in essence, the one that the child would have been given, the facsimile of the one that is not the original, this is just an extract from another document, but it is not even considered to be a true extract. But this certified extract basically has two other signatures, has two signatures on the bottom, and because you don't sign your birth certificate, there'd be no point. In fact, there's been letters returned from offices of the Registrar General totally explaining that that would null and void the certificate if the party basically signed it. It would actually void it or alter it. So they don't need your signature on it. But certainly if you're going to take over the bond under another contract, enter into social insurance in the collective, and then you become the surety or the sponsor, they require your picture and signature. And that's where all these other derivative instruments come from, such as driver's license, health cards, passports, all those instruments, because it's there to show that you're the surety bearing the burden. So if we went right back to the beginning, we'd realize that the state would be in legal responsibility, and we know that that happens anyways, because when someone basically may be born with a mental disorder or incapable of looking after themselves in any manner, whether legally or spiritually, the state steps in for that child and acts as the sponsor or the surety, handling all the expenses. So when we go into the etymology and also into the root meaning of the word sponsor, we lead to other words. And in the Catholic Church system, they have a godmother and godfather that sponsor the faith of the child. Now, this is legal faith, not good faith. This is bad faith, not good faith. This has nothing to do with spirituality, because we know that the Roman Catholic Church are definitely the head of paganism. So they certainly wouldn't be installing something that Jesus Christ had taught. So the baptisms they do are null and void. They have no meaning, because a child cannot be baptized into Jesus Christ until he reaches age of election. Certainly he'll be governed by their parents and under their responsibility during that period of time until they reach an age to make a decision. But they certainly themselves can't enter into any legal citizenship contract. So you'll find that there's symbologies even on the documents, at least in Ontario. They even have a watermark over top of the document that the parents fill at the hospital, almost showing that the child's been baptized in some manner. And so when we go to the word godparent, which is related to words like gossip, affair, rumor, we begin to get the understanding of what is going on in this Roman Catholic civil system that operates the world of commerce and trade under Babylon. So when we go to godparent, it says a person who sponsors a child as at baptism and assumes responsibility for its faith. Godmother or godfather. And then it says, then it has gossip, a godparent. It says a person who repeats idle talk and rumors, especially about private affairs of others. Now, isn't that interesting? That they talk about private affairs of others. So they're actually now into the private, but somehow they're involved in what is considered to be a public document. So there is some hearsay going on because gossip is like hearsay. There's no proof that the child has any legal entitlement to that name that is assigned by the state. And in fact, they're just awaiting upon the child to assume that misconception of birth and therefore take over the responsibility that comes with legal birth, which has got to do with commerce and trade and the whole activity system that you've ever been involved with in your life. So we even go to the word affair. It's an event that becomes a matter of public controversy. Well, it's interesting that the Registrar General says that they register events, not people. So they're already bringing something into controversy. The controversy is the claim to a name that is not really in the grasp or the capability of that child to actually take upon itself. Then we go to rumor, which is another word very connected up within these words. Rumor is noise, to complain, grumble, general talk not based on definite knowledge, mere gossip, hearsay. An unconfirmed story or statement in general circulation. So, very simply, this is nothing more than a hearsay document. There's nothing to substantiate it. The parents certainly could inform and state that the child was going to cross that line and actually touch something or claim something later that was not going to be there. So train them from the beginning, imprint them into a false belief, and they'll carry it on for the rest of their life. Now, how many would wake up in the morning, okay, and actually know anything that we just talked about? When we really look at it, if we really looked into the Vital Statistics Act, we can see, at least in the one that's in Ontario, that Vital Statistics Act has sections in there that relates to only referring to the legal surname as a registration. And the given name didn't even have to be on there to be a registration. So therefore, sometimes we misconceive or perceive things based on assumption that we know, and then we're going to listen to other people. But we need to get to the bottom of the root of it through our own research, and this is what this is about. So this is not complicated. The reason there is a surname there over and above that given name is to basically act in a superiority over top of the authority of Jesus Christ and God. So when people go down that direction, they wonder why they're in all the calamity they are. And of course, when Jesus said you had to forsake all in order to be his disciple, you had to basically become a new creature. Well, you can't be the creature that was holding on to the title of the legal creature you were in lack of knowledge. So what are you going to do? You think you're just a new creature walking around with the same title? You can't walk around with truth and fiction and be approved by God. And yes, this takes courage and faith, but it takes good faith. Now, when we look at the actual breakdown of these certificates, Uniquely, and I'm just saying from my own research, and I'm not saying I haven't gone into every state and every province in the world of secular governments, but what I found, at least in Ontario, is generally you'll find that there is a registrar general who's a male, and then the female is always the deputy. Now, that pattern, that's what I found. I don't have hundreds of these examples, but the ones that I did find seem to always follow that pattern of a godmother and godfather that are the signing authorities. So therefore, them releasing you into the legal was because of your own consent to take over the responsibility, but you were definitely induced into this misconception and belief. And therefore, you took over the duty, debt, and responsibility as a sponsor. So instead of them sponsoring the legal that they're responsible for in the make-believe of imagination of money, you stepped in and said, I can handle it all. And so they let you go and attempt to see what you're going to basically do. And of course, they need to insure your activity because now you're a risk. So they actually enter the certificate into a risk program, time policy, in order to see how long and what you're going to do and how you're going to act with the responsibility as the one who's actually acting as the surety for the bond. Now, we know that people are trying to take over the bond, and that's an amazing, ridiculous thing since they never gave you secrets of the state disclosure on that because it's none of your business. So therefore, why would you want to basically be curious into something that probably has things that you shouldn't know about because it's got nothing to do with you? It's involved in fiction and a lie. So yes, this has definitely a satanic content of direction. Yes, the system we live in has got nothing to do with spirituality, but being subject to the higher power certainly isn't taking over their authority by a license and putting your picture and signature on it. Being subject to would be allowing them to sign, allowing their seal to hold, but none of your private claim to public interest. So this video, I think, has a lot of meat and potatoes in it. I'm not going to give you a big series of videos for the weekend. I may just give you one more after this one. And hopefully with this content for the weekend, you can absorb this because this is very, very important, what we're talking about. This is a very crucial time, but if you don't understand it, there's no way you're going to be able to go ahead. There's no way you're going to walk it. And these guys that are out there telling you that you're going to grab the bond and take it over and operate it, you're already doing that in a spinning your wheels fashion already. And so therefore, there's a choice. Are you after the commerce, or are you willing to basically give all that up in order to gain your life, your real life? We have to ask these questions. Are we really caught up in an imagination of make-believe of that commerce? Do we really believe that it's real? And if you do, then you're still caught up in that illusion. And you, I can't say for certain, but I said it is leading down a path that is very broad and spacious that leads to destruction. And we know there's only a very few amount of people going down a narrow road to life.